Hey guys, I'm Casey. This is my beautiful husband Mark. As you can see, I am filming this by myself today because my husband is in the Philippines and I am currently in the States. It is about 2 more months before I get to see him again. Can't wait for that. Today I decided to make a video kind of circling around a question I get asked quite a bit actually. And that is, why did I marry a Filipino? So stick around for the video and find out.
I will be your honeycomb now to forever. I know this love was meant to be. Video chats every day would pave the way for us. Oh my baby boy, I love you so much.
Okay, so like I said, I get asked, why did I marry a Filipino? Why? Quite a bit, and also like because of the long distance and the long petition process and visa process and even the struggles we had getting married and things, people are like, why put yourself through all of that? And then on another side of that same coin is, you know, like, why did you go across seas to find a foreigner? Like, was you desperate? Could you not get a date in America? And I'm gonna answer all those questions. Basically, to get to where we are today, I'm gonna have to take you guys way back. And get a little personal. I won't go too deep in detail, but I do want to try to be as transparent and honest as possible. So basically, I had different relationships in the past. To say they were bad would probably be a huge understatement. I met a few of them at bars because, you know, back in the day, there wasn't Grindr, which I've never ever had Grindr on my phone or anything. There wasn't things like that. And so if you wanted to meet someone, you pretty much had to go to a bar or on a dating site, which I did meet a couple that way too. But basically, my problem was the gay community here is different. And especially back then, it was very different because it was before gay marriage was legalized. So little boys didn't grow up thinking, oh, I can get married to a man someday. And especially, unfortunately, in my area and even with my family at the time, being gay was frowned upon a lot. And I went through a lot of discrimination in the past and it caused some issues in my relationship. But unfortunately, the main issue I've always had is my partners being loyal, not cheating, and wanting monogamy. Because unfortunately, in the West, it's not uncommon for guys to have open relationships, which is something I've never been okay with. To add a third person here and there, and that is also something I'm not okay with. To each their own. It's just not my thing. I am too possessive and jealous to ever want to see someone else with my lover. So basically, the first relationship with a guy I was ever in, we had went out of town to visit a family member actually, and they wanted to add a third party and I did not, and that ended with us breaking up. But something I will never forget them saying, and we were together a year, so it wasn't like, you know, a fling or anything. They told me I thought too much like a straight person. Because back then, even in my early 20s, I knew I wanted to find one person to fall in love, have a family, a little white house, the picket fence. I wanted everything that back then we thought only straight couples could have. And thankfully, times have changed, people has changed, my family has changed. Back to the gay community here being different, it's a lot about partying, alcohol, and drugs and things. Unfortunately, that is a lot of the gay community in my area, and that is something I just am not okay with. Don't get me wrong, when I was younger, I went to bars, I danced, I had fun, I met people there, I even worked at a bar for a couple years actually. But that's not something I wanted anymore. After my last relationship, I actually stayed single for about 3.5, going on 4 years. Because I done better alone than trying to find somebody that wanted the same things I want, because I live out in the country, or out in the province as they would say in the Philippines. I have a little farm. I'm okay with that. My life is probably boring to a lot of people. I love animals very, very much, so that's important to me. Basically, I started watching like gay movies on YouTube. And I ran into BLs, which means boy love. And that is something that kind of started in Thailand. And the first BL I ever watched was Love by Chance. Put a little picture here. It was so sweet and so romantic, and where, again, Western movies were more about sex, partying, those kind of things. BLs are actually about two people that have a story that fall in love. If there is any sex involved, it's very, very little, and the drama definitely is not revolving around that. And then COVID happened, and we were all stuck in our homes. Most of us was watching YouTube or Netflix or whatever. The Philippines came out with one of their first BLs, and it was called Game Boys, and I believe it's on Netflix now also. But it was a Philippine BL, and it was awesome. So over time, I watched more and more BLs. I guess you could say I fell down the rabbit hole, and I started watching Korean dramas, things like that. Of course, I know real life is not like a Korean drama. Mark did not trip and fall into my arms or anything like that. But over time, I did find Asian men more and more attractive. 90% of what I was watching was Asian television. But more than that, it's not a fetish or anything like that. It's just, in my area, there's really no Asian people. So it wasn't really something I was familiar with. So the more I watched, the more I found them attractive. And bigger than that, though, is I found Asian culture so attractive. Especially the Philippines, which most Asian countries are about family, family, family. But especially the Philippines. They are so family oriented. I love that because I live in Appalachia, in Kentucky, the Appalachian Mountains, and my family is also very, very, very family oriented. Like, I took care of my grandma for 6 years, so she would not go into a nursing home. Me and my mom, mostly my mom, took care of my dad when he got really, really sick, so he would not go into any kind of nursing home. So family is so, so, so important to me. After a while, I joined a dating group, I guess you would call it, on Facebook. It was like Western men seeking Asian men, or actually I think it was called White Men Seeking Asian Men, which I don't really like that name, but that's what it was. I made a profile and said a little bit about myself and said a little bit about what I wanted, and I asked people, if you do not want this, then please don't message me. Fortunately, believe it or not, guys, I had to turn my phone off that night because I got so many messages that I couldn't go to sleep. Over time, I talked to different people. Honestly, I did go kind of by some of them's profile pictures. Like, if they just weren't my type, then that was out. I talked to a guy from Taiwan, a guy from China, I believe. But mostly it was Filipino men. And as the weeks went by, I talked to different guys to see what we had in common, to see what they were about, what I was about. Unfortunately, there was quite a few that it was very obvious they were in it for money, which obviously wasn't what I was looking for. Some of the other guys, it was a language barrier. So, and then it kind of narrowed down to like 4 or 5 guys that I talked to quite a bit. I don't want to say I friend zoned them because I didn't do it on purpose. It just kind of happened and they became my friends, and I'm actually still friends with a couple of them. If you guys have watched any of the previous videos, then you know when I first talked to Mark, found out his age, I didn't talk to him for a month or two because I just thought he was way too young, and the age thing bothered me. But then I started watching YouTube videos with straight couples, you know, the guy was much older than the woman. I realized that in the Philippines, age isn't as big of a deal as it is here in America, and that a 20-some-year-old Filipina or Filipino can actually find a 40-year-old American attractive.
What about age gap? Does the age matter to you?
In my own perspective, age doesn't matter.
Yeah?
As long as you love the person, then go.
Okay. Well, what about me? I'm 36. What if I loved you?
It doesn't matter. Age doesn't matter.
I'm just putting you on the spot. I understand. What about you? Does age matter to you?
I guess no.
Okay.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. What if you were like 59?
Yeah. If you really love the person, then you need to do everything, even though his age is 59.
So that kind of helped. Basically, what made Mark stand out from everybody else and how he won my heart was, unfortunately, I had a little dog go missing, and every day he would message and say, "Are you okay? Have you found Lily? She'll come back, which unfortunately she never did, but that's a whole nother story. But anyways, just the sincerity of, him checking in on me and asking about Lily, which was so important to me. And then one of the first things he ever said to me, which is an insecurity of mine, or it used to be, but now it's not, is he said, "I like your big nose." That's how he said it too. And, here that would be like such an insult, but I took it as the compliment that he meant it to be, because I do have a big pointy nose, and apparently, they like that there. What made Mark stand out is, for those of you that don't know, he sings all the time. Like, he's always singing something. I'm also the same exact way. I'm not saying I'm any good. I just love to sing. I'm that guy in the car that's like blasting it. We had the same taste in music. That was one of the first things that caught my eye, or ear, I guess I should say. And another thing, at the time I was going to the gym and working out quite a bit. And while I was working out, I would talk to him, and he would get online and hunt up these like 20 questions to get to know someone. And he's the only one that done things like that. He really wanted to get to know me as a person. And regardless of what people think, he never asked me for money. He don't care if we live in the United States or if we live in the Philippines. So it's not about a green card. He truly liked me for me. And another thing is his persistence. Even though I didn't really talk to him very much after I found out his age, he was so persistent, never gave up, and look where we are now. One of the things I asked him, I think it might have been in the 20 question thing that he done, like for weeks he would ask me questions, but this was before he even knew where I lived and kind of how I lived. He may have got an idea from Facebook, but he didn't know for sure. I don't think there's any pictures of my home on there anyways, but I said, "What's a dream of yours?" And he said, "I want to live in the mountains, in a little house, and have a little farm." And I just happen to live in the Appalachian Mountains, and I have a little farm because, like I said, I love animals so much. And another thing is something that you won't hardly find here in America, especially from a very handsome guy like my husband is. He was in his 20s and had never been kissed. And in a way that scared me, but in another way, it's amazing to be your husband's first love, first kiss, first everything. Come on guys, I got a little angel. And we have the same values. We want the same things in the future. We both want a family. It's very important to us. So after he gets here, within that next year, hopefully we can start working on having a kid and starting our family. That's important to both of us. Speaking of family, Mark's family is huge and they are amazing. And since the first moment I ever met them, they treated me so good. And they treated me like family before I became a part of the family. I couldn't ask for better in-laws. They are beautiful, wonderful people. Sorry guys, my dogs keep walking around. So if you hear tick, 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 it's their little feet. But Mark put in the effort. I put in the effort. Since we started talking serious with each other before we were even in a relationship, we have not missed a single night of, good night. And then it turned into good night, I love you. I don't even set an alarm because he's so dependable that I know he's going to call me every morning, which is his nighttime, and wake me up. And I do the same for him. My night time. So we talk twice a day, every day. Usually probably about, I'd say, 4 to 5 hours a day. I mean, you really get to know someone. So even before I met him in person, I knew he was the one. And keep in mind, guys, I had swore off marriage my whole life. Never, ever planned on getting married. Didn't want to. Like I said, I had bad relationships. I was scared. But then I met Mark, and the effort and the loyalty. He was the first person to love me back the way I loved him. I find myself, even to this day, falling in love with him over and over again. Like, I'll seriously just like look, he'll do something, and it's just like I feel like I'm falling in love again, even after all these years and everything we've been through. Like, he's just an amazing person. And another thing, in the Philippines, they're very traditional, especially in the provinces. So I love that. I love the tradition and, you know, the family and loyalty. And plus, in the Philippines, marriage, there is no divorce. You have the Vatican, and then you have the Philippines, and they're the two countries in the world that don't allow divorce. So they take marriage very serious. When you get married to them, it's forever. So I have no doubts that when I'm old, in a wheelchair, that my younger husband will be there pushing me, hopefully not off a cliff. But, you know, I have no doubts. But that's kind of how Mark won my heart, is with love and communication. And I knew I was going to marry him within a month. I know that sounds crazy, but within a month or two, I knew it was different. We talked for probably 6 months or so before my first visit there. And I'd already bought an engagement ring. I'd already messaged his mom and asked for her blessing. And I told her it was going to be a while, but we'd get to know each other even better. And she gave us our blessing, and we got engaged. And then we got married this past April. And I guess we've been married 9 months now, which seems strange because we're not together like I want to be. So there's times I feel like my life is maybe on pause. That's what it feels like a little bit. But I've never had any doubts. I've never had any regrets. I love him more than life itself. And I have no doubts in my mind about his love to me, about his loyalty and honesty. He's an amazing person, and I would marry him 1,000 times again. That, guys, is why I married a Filipino and how he won my heart. So my next video is going to be about passport bros and what they are and why I say become one. If you're not happy here, become a passport bro. But anyways, if you like this video, hit the like button, subscribe, and ring the bell. And that's it for today, guys. Bye-bye.